The crystal chandeliers cast a golden glow over the glittering ballroom, where Manhattan's elite sipped champagne and congratulated themselves on their generosity. But in that sea of designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, nobody noticed the quiet woman in the corner, her worn hands carefully polishing a water glass that someone had carelessly abandoned on a marble table. Nobody, that is, except for one man, whose heart had been searching for something real in a world built on facades. Maria Gonzalez had been invisible for so long. She'd almost forgotten what it felt like to be seen. For 3 years, she'd worked the night shift at Meridian Tower, mopping floors and emptying trash bins while the city's power brokers slept peacefully in their penthouses above. Tonight was different. The building's charity gala meant extra work, extra hours, but also extra pay that would help cover her daughter's college textbooks. She moved through the crowd like a ghost, her gray uniform a stark contrast to the sea of black ties and pearls. The guests barely registered her presence as she quietly cleared their discarded plates and refilled their crystal glasses. To them, she was part of the scenery, as unremarkable as the wallpaper. "Excuse me, miss," a sharp voice cut through the ambient chatter. Maria looked up to find a woman in a sequined dress, her lips pursed in obvious irritation. "You're dripping water on my Louboutins." Heat rushed to Maria's cheeks as she noticed the small puddle that had formed from her cleaning rag. "I'm so sorry, ma'am, let me—" "Just be more careful," the woman snapped, stepping away with an exaggerated sigh. "Some people have no awareness." The comment sparked a ripple of snickers from the surrounding group. A man in an expensive watch chuckled. "Well, what do you expect? They're not exactly Harvard material," another woman added with mock sympathy. "Poor thing probably doesn't even know what those shoes cost." Maria's hands trembled slightly as she quickly cleaned the spill, her face burning with humiliation. She'd heard worse over the years, comments about her accent, her background, her place in their world. But tonight, surrounded by all this wealth supposedly gathered for charity, the cruelty stung deeper than usual. "Actually," a calm, measured voice cut through the mockery, "I think awareness is exactly what we need more of here." The group turned to see a man approaching, tall, understated in a simple black suit that probably cost more than Maria's annual salary, though he wore it without pretension. There was something familiar about him, though Maria couldn't place where she might have seen him before. "I'm sorry?" the sequined woman said, her tone suddenly uncertain. "Awareness," he repeated, his gray eyes steady and uncompromising. "Of the fact that this woman probably works harder in a single night than most of us work in a month. Of the fact that while we're here patting ourselves on the back for writing checks, she's the one actually keeping this world running." The man stepped closer to Maria, and she saw something in his expression that she hadn't seen in years. Genuine respect. "Ma'am, I don't believe we've been properly introduced." "I'm David." Maria's heart hammered as she recognized him then. David Chen, the enigmatic CEO whose company occupied the top 15 floors of the building. His picture was in the lobby, though he looked different there, more formal, more distant. She'd seen him a few times over the years, always polite when their paths crossed in the early morning hours, always treating her like a human being rather than furniture. "Maria," she managed, acutely aware of how her voice carried the hint of her Puerto Rican childhood that years in New York had never quite erased. "Maria," he said, as if testing how her name sounded. "Tell me, Maria, how long have you been taking care of this building?" 3 years, sir. 3 years of night shifts," he mused, loud enough for the gathering crowd to hear. 3 years of making sure we all have a clean, safe place to work. 3 years of—" He paused, looking directly at the woman in sequins. "What did you call it?" "Oh yes, keeping this world running while having no awareness." The woman's face had gone pale. "I didn't mean—" "You meant exactly what you said," David replied quietly. "But here's what you weren't aware of. Maria here, she's been sending money to her family in Puerto Rico after hurricane. Maria, she's putting her daughter through college, pre-med at Columbia. By the way, and she volunteers at a soup kitchen every Saturday morning after working all night here." Maria's eyes widened. How could he possibly know all that? She'd mentioned her daughter once, maybe twice during their brief encounters. But the rest? David turned back to her, and his expression softened. "You see, Maria, I've been watching you for a long time." Not in a creepy way, he added with a slight smile that made her heart skip. But in an interested way. You're always the first to help when someone's struggling with heavy boxes. You leave encouraging notes for the security guards. You even stayed late last Christmas Eve to help when that pipe burst on the 15th floor. The crowd had gone completely silent now, sensing that something extraordinary was unfolding before them. I've built a company worth billions, David continued, his voice carrying across the hushed ballroom. I've made more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. But in all my success, I'd forgotten what real wealth looks like, until I started paying attention to you. Maria felt tears threatening to spill. Mr. Chen, I don't understand. Real wealth isn't in a bank account. Maria, it's in kindness shown when no one's watching. It's in dignity maintained despite how others treat you. It's in working 3 jobs and still finding time to help others. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. It's in having a heart so generous that it transforms everyone around you, even when they don't deserve it. The ballroom erupted in gasps as David dropped to one knee in front of the janitor in the gray uniform. Maria Gonzalez, you are the wealthiest person in this room. You've shown me that success means nothing without compassion, that power means nothing without purpose. You've taught me what it means to be truly human. Maria's hands flew to her mouth, tears streaming freely now. Around them, champagne? Glasses sat forgotten as Manhattan's elite watched in stunned silence. I know this is unconventional, David said, opening the box to reveal a simple, perfect solitaire diamond. I know we come from different worlds, but you've shown me that the only world that matters is the one we build together, based on love and respect and genuine human connection. Maria, will you marry me? The silence stretched for an eternity. Then through her tears, Maria whispered, yes. The ballroom exploded in applause, but Maria barely heard it. All she could see was David's face, radiant with joy, as he slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms. Later, as the evening wound down and the guests filed out, many of them, notably more subdued than when they'd arrived, David and Maria stood together on the building's rooftop terrace. The city spread out below them like a tapestry of lights. You really meant all that? Maria asked, still hardly believing it was real. Every word, David said, pulling her closer. You know what the funny thing is? I came to that gala planning to announce a major charity initiative. Instead, I found something much more valuable. What's that? Someone who doesn't need to announce her charity work, because she lives it every day. As they stood there, 2 people from seemingly different worlds, they realized they'd found something that all the money in Manhattan couldn't buy: a love built on seeing the true worth in another human being, regardless of what the world might think. And somewhere below them, in a ballroom being cleaned by the night shift crew, a group of society's elite were learning a lesson they'd never forget about the difference between being rich and being wealthy.